Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Sunday, the 28th of March, 2021, and I am your host, the Shozen One, and joining me today as my co-host, Bogul. But we won't be on the air very long because today is Sunday, and Sunday means interviews. Bogul, who are we interviewing today?
I mean, on the top there, it says Robinhoodrs. I haven't heard the interview yet, and I wasn't told until just before the show. I was just like, yeah, we will have a very, very special guest today. And I'm like, oh my God, who is it? Robin? And then you said yes. I was like, oh.
I said Robin, yeah. Well, you see, I had a hard time getting interviews, and Robin stepped up last minute to replace somebody who had left for me, and we decided we would talk about how he got his job here at Albion TV and what it's like working here and how it's been the last year of working in this environment.
Oh,
We
it's
did
been a
go
year
over a little
already?
bit of, yeah, it's been a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we will be giving out gold codes. We'll be listening to Robin's history, a little bit of how he got started in the game. I know most of you already know that part, but also what it's like to work here at AOTV and what he does for Albion TV. So without further ado, I think we should just start the interview right up because we have another show right after. We will be doing a Hellgate show right after the interview at 21 UTC, and we will be right back and joined by the great Taziki.
All right. Let's play this. Watch shot for the raffles and enjoy listening to Robin's story. Yes,
Yeah.
story. Okay, let's go.
Welcome to the Albion TV interview series. I am the Shozen One, and today I have an extra special guest here on Albion TV. Yes, I have Robinhoodrs, formerly of Money Guild, formerly of Blue Army, currently of Albion TV. And we're going to discuss a wide number of subjects about how he started in the game, got discovered by Albion TV, and then began the process of establishing our YouTube channel. So I'm going to turn this over to Robin, let him give himself an introduction, tell us a little bit about his history.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Shozen. It's a bit weird, since I shoutcast like pretty much 4 times a week with you. Um, so having this interview is kind of just like having our normal chit chat, so to speak, but giving a little bit more information to the wider community of who I am, where I come from, what I've been doing, and hopefully give some nice little insight of what goes on behind the scenes here on Albion TV. Because some people have hmm, their thoughts of like what goes on and what we do when it's definitely not that.
Nope.
It's way more than that. But
Wait, do you
I,
actually
I
have
guess
to do work here, Robin? Do I make you do work?
yeah, it's very painful. I don't get to play the game that much anymore.
It is a real situation that does occur when you start working full time on a video game. It's a lot harder to play that video game. But let's start at the beginning. When you did play the video game, when did you start playing?
I believe, actually, let me pull up my account details because I believe it was in 2015 I signed up. Yes, July 2015 I became a member for Albion, and that was after I noticed that Echo of Silence, formerly led by Ollie, aka Ben, posted on the RuneScape fan forum. He posted about Albion in the other game section, mentioning it's a full loot MMORPG sandbox game, and I was like, okay, I'll have a look. I'll see what it's like. He allowed me to join the guild and basically go from there. It's been a wild ride since, well, I think my first taste of Albion would have been beta 1 on launch day for like because it came out of alpha and then into beta 1, and I was looking at footage from alpha tests from EOS that dragged me into the beta phase. And I was just so immersed at like the fact that you can just walk out and kill people and take their loot. Like for me as a RuneScape player, that's only limited to the wilderness. Back then, like so in RuneScape, if you don't know, you have like a massive world like Albion, but it's basically a blue and yellow zone for everything, and then the north side of the map is the PvP area where you can attack players and get their full loot. So for me, allowing myself to go out and just like roam through maps and go into dungeons and raid zones and everything, and or kill gatherers or just cutting trees and taking all their loot for myself, like I love that, and I was hooked ever since. And that's pretty big considering I played RuneScape since 2001. Like, it's a long time. I mean, I consider myself a very big veteran player of RuneScape, and coming like having that pull from RuneScape to Albion, like the game just sucked me in. And it was I just couldn't get myself out of that grip that Albion put me in.
Dude, in beta 1, I was an 18-hour a day player. Like,
Hmm.
it was all encompassing. It was my life. It was incredible. And I was facing off against EOS on the regular, so may have killed you and you may have killed me early on.
Oh, I'm sure we've met on the battlefield once or twice, Shozen. Definitely.
Yeah, it was. The thing was, back then there weren't as many players in beta 1. It was a very dedicated group, and especially the English speaking players kind of all fought against each other in kind of a tight area. It was very interesting, and we'd all roam, like you said, dungeons together looking for other players. There were two things you could do back in the day when going through dungeons. One, you could find that juicy fame because nobody had been in that dungeon for a while, because back in the day, mobs gained fame over time as they were left alive. They gained experience. So you wouldn't just go to the first dungeon and go, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to clear this. You'd go in, you'd do two things. You'd see if anybody had cleared the mobs, and if they were still there, you'd listen for loot pickup by looking at the loot page, see if anybody was picking up any silver. And then you would, if not, you would kill a couple of mobs to see how much fame they had and how much fame bonus they had. And you would go from dungeon to dungeon to dungeon, which meant inevitably that you would run into other players and you'd have to kill them or be killed. It was fantastic. Albion has gotten a little bit more consensual with PvP, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it's honestly better for the average player now. It's not
sure.
as hardcore and deadly. You can actually fame without the constant fear of being murdered. There was no A-ing out back in the day. You had to run through your opponents to get out.
Yeah, it was a very different time for sure, and especially like the raid zones. The raid zones were completely different back then. I can't remember the actual name of the map. It always like leaves my mind, but it was like of say Camland now.
Yeah, the
So you had the
Prince.
map Cam,
Yeah.
yeah, and then it was literally like two. I would say 2/3 of the map was the raid zone
Mm-hmm.
itself. So like a massive castle. You had multiple layers. You had dungeons inside the actual like keep itself,
Yep.
and you could go underneath the map and come out in the middle of the raid zone itself.
Yep.
And you would have like what 4 or 5 different groups that were fame farm inside that zone. You wouldn't even know that they were there sometimes
You
until
would
you ran.
find them, yeah, and then you'd run into them, and the mobs were incredibly deadly. If you
Mhm.
ran into one of the casters with her bats, it could be a wipe for your entire group. You could have 40 guys get massacred by one lady with a bat. And it happened a
Yeah,
lot. Like, you'd be trying to position in PvP, you'd get hit by this lady, she would hunt you down to the ends of the earth, and she'd kill a player every 3-4 seconds.
yeah, but that stuff, like it was so much fun back then, and who knows in the future? There's been a lot of rumblings on Reddit of people posting old maps, and and stuff like that. And there's been calls for like raid zones to go back towards that thing, or like that play
Mhm.
style of being a massive like
Full
zone in
zone. Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? We may head back that way in the future. But yeah, it was a really, really good time. And it was the first time I've ever experienced a game go from beta 1 to beta 2, beta 3 into launch, and then carry on expanding the way it has over the years. And I've never really experienced that, because with RuneScape, yeah, it switched from what we call classic RuneScape to RuneScape 2 and then into RuneScape 3. It evolved in terms of graphics and engine, but not in like, we didn't have a say, or how can I say that? We didn't have like any inkling of what was coming next. But with Albion, we kind of knew, right? Like the devs would be talking to us, and we would get dev diaries and everything like that.
You
So
have
we
the
kind of
round
knew what was
table,
coming.
like
Yeah.
the round table access, especially early on. There were a lot of players who were on the round table having daily conversations with the developers, and it really did change, especially during beta and beta 2, final beta, and then in beta 3, final beta, uh, heavily on player feedback. Lots
Yeah.
of changes came because of the way players were experiencing the game. Now we see expansions come out every 6 months, free expansions, mind you, that come out and completely change the game. It doesn't give you the same content you had before, but with a new coat of paint. It gives you fresh content, and I've never played an MMO that did that. Like, whether it was like, I'll use like the classic EverQuest, for example, as an example. They would give you an expansion, you'd have to pay for it. It would split up the player base, and it was the same content, but different. It wasn't new gameplay. World of Warcraft, same deal. Maybe a couple of changes here and there. They added arenas and stuff, but it wasn't every time just completely different new free gameplay. You had to pay for everyone. It would split up guilds. It made things difficult. But Albion, no, it's a free-to-play game where the expansions are free to play, and they just improve the entire game every 6 months. But Robin, I didn't know this was going to be a advertisement for Albion.
I think it just goes to show our love and appreciation for the game.
Yeah.
Like as gamers ourselves, I mean, we've been gaming. Oh, I've got like 20 years under my belt now. I'm 29 years old. I've been gaming since I was 9 years old, since I ever had my first PC in my bedroom. So yeah, I got 20 years experience of playing video games under my belt already. I'm pretty. What are you at? Like 30?
I built my first PC when I was 14, but I had a Nintendo when I was 5. So I've been playing, 37 years of video games, 20 plus years, 21 years of MMOs. Actually 22 years of MMOs, 1999 with EverQuest. Yeah, it's this one hooked me in a way that no other has. It's incredible. Like, I have a level of respect for the developers that, yeah, I liked the developers for the other games I played. And yes, occasionally I'd get to speak with them. I still have some relationships with them now. But it wasn't the same. It's not me talking to them taking notes on what we're saying about what they need to change for the game, talking to dozens of players, and then going, okay, let's see how we can take these player visions and turn them into content that we can develop in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique insight and experience what we have here with Albion and SBI and all the awesome developers and people behind the scenes that don't get the limelight. We know the big guns, right? But we don't know the other guys like that don't get the spotlight, so to speak. I mean, what SBI is, what, 50-person studio now,
About that,
in
yeah.
somewhere around there. I mean, they're hiring all the time. So yeah, I haven't got to speak to every single employee of SBI in it behind the scenes, and I would sure love to. But yeah, it's always the big guys that we normally speak to: Retro Man, Robin,
Yeah,
Mythoseria community manager.
yeah.
So
It's like we get to talk to we get to talk to other people too. For each individual department as we get sent around. Whether it's Mo or Mobius. It's like we get to talk to different people. It's very cool. But
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about your in-game history. So you started in, like you said, in Beta 1. You played with EOS. Let's move to release when the game kind of came out. I remember you being part of Money Guild.
Yeah, so through the betas, it was all EOS, and then as the game launched, Ollie kind of took a step back. A lot of drama was happening inside of EOS at the time, and we kind of merged EOS into Money Guild. And not everyone enjoyed their time, and some people left and stopped playing, and other people carried on playing. And Sucks, aka Chris, I stuck with him, and we built our friendship even more throughout that time inside Money Guild. Money Guild then going on to win multiple seasons with Chris under the helm alongside Derek. And, as things progressed, drama then happened,
Mm-hmm.
and issues within the guild that were kind of personal towards the two people involved, Derek and Chris.
Well, there was
Um,
a third person involved in that drama too,
who was that?
Mojo.
True. But at the time, I didn't know Mojo.
Okay.
So I'm not going to speak on anything that I don't know about, because, I would just be putting rumors back into the mill again, where I didn't know Mojo at the time. All I knew that he was leading.
Well, he was in the
Bo-
5v5 with Derek. They were part of the 5v5 team during launch. That did evolve over time to Mojo moving more to ZVZs.
Yeah, and then Mojo left, right, and he formed that new guild.
Yep.
And then all that drama happened. And then fast forward, all the drama with Derek and Chris happened. Chris left to join Blue Army, and I stayed. And then the issue was, I was hearing a lot of lies about Chris, and Chris is a really good friend of mine. Like, I would have known him then for what, 2 years, maybe 3, maybe a bit longer at the time. I mean, he's a good friend of mine still right now to this day.
He
Like, we
doesn't even
speak every
play.
day.
Yeah, he doesn't play, and
Yeah.
I still occasionally get messages from Chris. Like he did inform me of his feelings about the Magic Mark interview. He had some things to say about that. He didn't feel that it was all accurate, though I did look at the screenshots from both sides. There's some perception issues on what happened there from each side. We'll say in the world of Albion, nobody is 100% correct.
You're not wrong there. But yeah, the whole issue then led to me robbing Money Guild because of the lies that were getting spread and the issues between Chris and Derek. And the video came out and everyone watched it, and then everyone knew that I robbed Money Guild, and that stuck with me for a while. I joined Blue Army right after that happened.
I think that's
And
when I first talked to you, actually, is after you robbed Money Guild. I did an interview with you, and we talked about you robbing Money Guild.
yeah, I think we went into quite a bit of detail actually on like the ins and outs and what actually happened.
Mm-hmm. That was a full interview. If you want to hear the story about the robbery of Money Guild, you can go back and look through it. I believe it's on SoundCloud.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was a long time ago, and my memory's pretty hazy. Like, I have trouble remembering what happened last month, let alone what, 3 years ago.
Yep, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago. So obviously, I speak to Derek now, and I think me and Derek's fine. Like, we're cool. It's water under the bridge. It's in the past. It is what it is. Like, I go and watch Derek stream constantly when he's doing 5v5s or 10v10s because he's entertaining to watch.
That
And
is true.
he
And he's
puts out
informative.
great content.
He's
Yeah.
very informative too. And this last week has been interesting.
It has.
Yeah.
But I think that's for another time.
Yeah,
I
that's
saw
all.
a couple.
That's what we're going.
Yeah. Yeah, another time. But yeah, from there I spent 3 years in Blue Army, working my way up the rank. and pretty much becoming, I would say, one of the best Grovekeeper players for ZVZ in the whole entire game. There's a couple people that's near to what I am in my playstyle, but I like me tugging my own chain here. Like I'm gonna say I'm probably the best. Like a lot of people, even to this day, like after I put all those guides and stuff out for free to play,
Mm-hmm.
I get people whispering me when they see me in game, and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm only playing Grovekeeper because I watched your videos and I love your content. I love watching you play Grovekeeper, and thanks for all the guides and stuff like that." Because when free to play came out, I noticed like so many people were coming to the game, but the guides and the path that people were putting people through, it just there was so much more to open in Albion than to gather your heart out in the royal zones.
Mm-hmm.
It like for me, like whenever I tell people to start the game, I was like, focus on your silver first, and
Yep.
then
Get
that way
yourself.
you can buy everything off the marketplace
Yep.
and go from there.
Unfortunately,
Like
crafting and gathering, you're going to spend a lot of silver on it early on, leveling it up. It's not.
exactly.
It doesn't necessarily make you a lot of money. Now, well, comparatively to just going after the silver, like you will earn silver by gathering, but it's at a different rate than you do doing other things in the game. There, I would, when I was playing in the beginning, I gathered and crafted, but I supplemented my income through ganking. The way I made my silver was by killing other players, and then I would invest that silver into my crafting and my gathering and my farming so that I had what I considered a long-term economy as well. The crafting side of the game will make you money. Just ask Bogul. But you have to invest heavily along the way.
Yeah, for sure. It's for me, I always tell new players, get premium, get a month of premium. Even the starter pack, you even get 1,000 gold back. So it's worth buying that pack right off the rip.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a whole 30 days to focus on money gaining, like building up that economy for yourself. And then if you go down the routes of collecting a mass amount of silver, fame farming into like the black zone, not worrying so much about your gear because your gear is legit like ammo in a first person shooter. That's what I tell people. And I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
you tell people the same thing, right,
Yeah,
Shozen?
yes, it is. It's something I started the very first week I started talking about Albion. I mean, this was back in beta. I described it like that because it is. You cannot be afraid to die. You cannot be afraid to spend your gear. You're just buying better ammo for your guns. And yeah, that 8.3 is a great big old BFG. But what good is a BFG if it stays in your inventory and you never pull it out and use that ammo?
Exactly. And building up the money over time, you're going to have enough money to then buy your premium if you so please to with in-game currency that you've earned in the first 30 days of playing the game and learning more than just cutting down trees or skinning a deer in the royal zones. And like my guides and stuff, they popped off. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't come into the scene expecting to be a YouTuber or content creator. And do I wish I put more time into my YouTube channel after that? Of course. But with my IRL situation and then moving into what I currently do on Albion TV, just haven't got the time.
Yeah, why don't we talk a little bit about that? How did you get this job? I mean, I know the answer. I was there. But the audience doesn't really know. How did Robin start working at AOTV?
So as a ZVZ player myself, watching the show, you guys weren't covering ZVZs in a way that I wanted them to be covered. Like me as a player that enjoys the content, I wanted to bring something to the stream to make something more relatable and for the viewers to understand a bit better because ZVZ is a cluster F. Like for a new person that's watching, all they see is spells and flashing like spells popping up, things exploding, like massive white orbs and stuff appearing, green leaves popping up all over the place. Like they don't know what the hell's going on. And I wanted to try and bring a more engaging experience, being a really good ZVZ player myself, to the stream. So I recorded a ZVZ that you guys covered from the stream. And what I did is then shoutcasted what I could over the top of it, recorded it, sent it into you. I was like, here you go. I want to do the ZVZ coverage. Watch this. Am I good enough? And you guys gave me a shot.
Yeah, I believe I gave you a few shows of a demo. I didn't pay you for the first work you did, but I said if we can prove that it works, then we can see if we can maybe sell this to SBI. And it took a little bit, but we proved that it worked, and you did great. It also changed the way that we covered ZVZs. Also, this was right around with Queen, too. So the ability to cover ZVZs also changed. Before that, I would say shoutcasting the plays was a lot more difficult because the game's engine didn't always keep up. Once Queen hit, it became an entirely different game to cast. So being able to bring in somebody who understood what they were seeing on screen live and could describe it in a play-v-play manner worked well with me doing the color commentary and the more overview approach that I used to use to describe what was going on in the zone as a whole.
Yeah, and that update with Queen, by the way, is still probably the biggest update we've had in terms of performance gain in ZVZs. And whoever was involved in doing that, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Even to this day, thank you, thank you. God bless. It was such a big performance increase, and it really amplified, I think, the amount of people that actually took part in ZVZs. Like, even, yeah, we did have Queen that came out right alongside it, and that itself increased Outland ZVZ. But once people saw that you could actually, go a back and forth engagement and not lag out and desync and stuff, like, people wanted to get into ZVZs more. And going from there, so I came in, was it January? February, March?
February. So January, we saw Queen really gave us the example where we could start casting ZVZs as its own specific content without having to just cover the invasion days, where we were covering a lot about what was going on with the map, who was taking over. But when Queen came out, we could actually do a war report and talk about how the world was changing on a daily basis. Talk about how ZVZ impacted territory control. So it was probably about mid-February when we started talking about it, and we probably got the content out shortly after that. And it was a few months after that we started expanding your role. We went from just a couple of ZVZ shows a week to started to bring 4 ZVZ shows a week. And then we expanded your role into YouTube as well, because some of our coverage was getting some pretty good hits, but you had some experience with YouTube from your time with the guides, and you believed you could up our viewership quite a bit, and it was dramatic. We went from about 200 views on YouTube per episode to 1,000 to 2,000 views per episode on YouTube, with some just a little bit of changes in how we did our YouTube analytics.
Yeah, and it gave the audience somewhere else to watch the show, right? Not everyone's going to be able to watch a show live. I mean, even to this day, loads of people are still watching YouTube. And like, I believe over like the last 6 months, our views and our subscriber count actually increased by like 250%. So it's a massive increase, allowing the people to choose when they want to watch our shows and make sure they're up to date on what's happening in the war report or in the 5v5 scene, 20 versus 20 scene, invasion days, interviews. It's just another location, because not everyone that's looking for content would automatically go, let me go to Twitch and then go to their VODs and then watch through their VODs, you know? Like not many people actually did that. So opening up YouTube brought in that audience that isn't going to watch the show live, but still wants to watch the show. And then obviously YouTube algorithm pumps out the show to a wider audience as well. So bringing in unique viewers to the live show, because some people may have not even known that we do a live show. So now they do. It's a good outreach program and also a good place for people to rewatch the show in their free time.
It's also a lot easier to watch them on YouTube. The ability to scrub through an episode on YouTube compared to scrubbing through a VOD on Twitch, there's no comparison. You can move around much easier. Twitch has some advantages. I love being able to do live content, but the recorded content is a little buggy still.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm just looking at the YouTube analytics now for the channel, and this time last year, a video would bring in 114 views, and now on average we're around between 1,000 to 2,000 per video, and we're just about to hit 500,000 views in total on the channel in that short amount of time. And I mean, it's just showing that it's worth, you know, it's a good outreach.
Absolutely. So what do you do? You said you do the YouTube. What do you do here with the YouTube? What is it? What kind of day do you have so that the audience knows that you're not just going, okay, I'm just going to throw this up here on YouTube. Bogul made a highlight, exported the highlight right to YouTube, and I just gave it a name. What do you do?
Nah, so with the war report, you know, there's a lot of downtime. Also with the 5v5s and 20 versus 20s, there's a lot of downtime in between the action. And basically what I do is when the shows are finished, Bogul puts the VOD up, and then I download the VOD and then go into Sony Vegas, edit, cut down, remove all the gibberish and jibber jabber that's like filler for the shows, condense just so it's pure action, render it, upload it, tags, everything else on YouTube, and then I make the thumbnail as well, and then I go live. So normally one video in total, I would say, is about 2, maybe 3 hours in total. And then I have on some days 4 shows to do. No, 3, 4. Sometimes it's 4.
Sometimes it is 4. Yeah, we do a lot of
yeah.
content now.
Yeah. So yeah, it takes up a lot of time. And that's on top of the already work I do shoutcasting as well. So going back just a little bit, before I was able to do this full time, I used to work a full-time job as well in real life. I worked at a store and a post office, and this was just as Corona was hitting and everything was going crazy. We had our first initial lockdown, March last year for the UK. And if anybody out there works in retail and knows the craziness that ensued when that lockdown was announced, we're talking panic buying left, right, and center. We had empty shelves. I was doing 12-hour shifts, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, finishing work at 6 p.m. or just before 6 p.m. So a 12-hour shift leading into the war report. And then after the war report's done, so that's like another hour and 30 minutes, I would then do the YouTube as well. So that's another 2 hours on top. Go to bed for a couple hours, wake up again at 5 a.m., do it all over again. I was doing 12-hour shifts just in my real life job, like 4 days, 5 days, back to back to back to back, then coming home and putting my energy into improving the shoutcasting and the YouTube at the same time. And I'll tell you something, that shit drained me. Like dealing with the public and then coming home and then trying to put energy into what we were trying to accomplish with the show, trying to improve it, trying to bring in viewership, and just making something better. It was a drain, but it was worth it. Like my passion has always been to get more people to enjoy this game and be able to show people what the end game is like for ZVZ and for them to experience it. Like that's why I did my YouTube channel. I wanted more people to play the game. I wanted more people to get to the end game. And working on AOTV has allowed me to do so, and it's allowed me to put my energy into it full time now. And the fact that I get to sit at home and not have to deal with the public during coronavirus and not have to work 12 hours a day with a 30-minute break and not be on my feet for 12 hours a day, it is just I am so grateful for that opportunity that you gave me, and for the fact that SBI allowed me that opening as well. I just want to say thank you to you, Bogle, for putting up with me as well, and showing me the ropes as well. Because Bogle does a lot of work in the back end
Oh
that
my
nobody
God.
sees.
Nobody sees what
Nobody
Bogle
sees.
does. Like, man, I am so glad we were able to add Bogle to the Daily Show so that people could actually see him doing something on the front end and being part of the show, because he used to do so much work in the back end that nobody had like any clue of. And they finally got to see him doing the stuff, and he has, progressed so much over the last few years that people would have no idea, like that early on it was, I would do 80% of a show and Bogle was doing maybe 20% of a show. Now it's 50-50. He has come so far. It's so awesome to see. I love it. And you as well, you've really kind of flipped the script on what ZVZ used to be for us. When we started, it was more like, a 30-70. Now it's 30-70 the other way. You're doing 70% of the casting. I'm doing maybe 30% of it. And you've really grown as a caster, and it's great to see. And you get to do some other stuff on the side that are expanding your skills in the industry. And I love that. Being able to provide you with an income that allows you to, not have to do that shop job anymore, gives you the freedom that you need to do the rest of this. I'm super proud of that too. And I want to thank SBI for the opportunity they gave, my other casters that we were able to bring in. And I love my job. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. I love working with this company. There's a faith that I can have with them that I've never been able to have in another company before. I mean, just knowing that if there's a problem, right? Whether it's in the game or even like interpersonal, at work, knowing that it's going to be okay and going to get fixed is like such a de-stressor. It's, I love selling this game because I love this game. And I don't just love the game, I love the developers. I have more faith in them as developers than any other MMO I've ever played. Hands down.
Oh, 100%.
Like, hands down.
100%.
Like, people are going to be like, wow, these guys are really putting on the wax on this one. What's going on with work? No, we love it. Like, it's just, that's all we can say about it is we want you guys to love this situation as much as we do, because it's a treat. There's nobody else doing this. The fact that SBI invested into this channel and allows us to do, an entire show about just community content every week. Just going over community content, fan art, memes, what's going on in the player base, what people are talking about on Reddit. Nobody else does that. The fact that we get to, report every day on the ongoing wars in the game between players, straight up turning players into heroes and villains based off of what they do. That doesn't happen in other games. It straight up can't happen in other games because you have 600 different shards with 600 different kings. Who the hell cares? Like, who leads Warmonger or Celestial Temple? Nobody cares about that other server. They care about the server they play on. And everybody plays on this server. Everybody's got the same king. Everybody's got the same emperor to deal with. Everybody's got that same, enemy-ish. Well, I shouldn't say everybody's got the same enemy. Everybody knows of the same enemies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's the most unique thing about this game, like one shard system. Like, never experienced that in any other game I've ever played. And being able to, like you say, like, for people like as well, like on a YouTube creator or just a content creator in general, like I can put out content and then just walk around the world and people will notice me because they've seen my content. I don't have to hop around different worlds and stuff. Like, people will run into their favorite content creator hands down, like it's guaranteed,
Mhm.
maybe once or twice a day because they're all on the same server. And having that interaction with other players, like finding that hatred towards somebody that you want to go out and gank them and steal all their loot and stuff, but because you know they're going to be out there, you can go out there and start hunting them down. And it's so unique, and it makes this game so easy to cover as well, in a sense of what we do. Like, imagine trying to do a war report for like a game that has 40 different servers. You
I
just can't do it.
it would be a completely different situation. Like you'd cover one a day or something like that over the course of a month. But this game, that aspect of this game allows anybody to become a hero. Like you don't have to be the absolute best person on your shard at any particular thing in order to get noticed. You can be one of the top 10, top 20, and you're going to get noticed. First by the other people on the high end, and then eventually by the other players as it filters down. The players truly are the lore of this game, and it's not like that in other games. This is a unique thing that Albion has. The players are the story. The players are the history. Like the events of Albion create the lore that we talk about every day. Robinhood's robbery of Money Guild is part of the history of this game. Money Guild dominating Mercia for a year and a half is part of the history of this game. The fights that occurred between Mojo and Derek are part of the history of this game. That's unique to the game. And everybody has that same history. Everybody has it. Like, you might not even have played here when that happened, but the repercussions of those events are still rippling through the world of Albion today. And that's incredible and awesome. You, as a player, can have an impact in this game that you cannot have in other games. Just straight can't do it. The best, I'm just going to use the best warrior in such and such a game is only famous on that server. Unless he is a massive YouTube star, that was your only avenue for becoming famous, was having to be a content creator. You don't have to be a content creator in Albion to become famous. Derek didn't become a content creator in Albion until a year after he was king, like no longer like king of Mercia, really. I mean, it's incredible how this game allows your in-game play to make you a hero.
Exactly. And like people like always ask like, oh, why is there no quests and stuff in Albion? And where's the lure? The lure is the player at the end of the day. And every move they make and every action they do is another page in that lore book. And it could be talked about many, many years from now. I mean, look, we're still talking about me robbing Money Guild, and it's been 3 years. Major events like that stick with the players, and the players talk about it and will carry on bringing up those events many, many years from now. And it's great. And, I have to live with my actions every time it gets brought up in
Yeah,
Twitch chat.
yeah,
But,
we constantly hear
it's
BATV from you. Like, meanwhile, none of us are there. I'll just be honest. None of us play for BA anymore. I haven't for, over a year and a half now. You haven't for a season. It's these things. They're part of the history. They're part of the history of the game world, and it's just part of that lore. I'll take it. I'll deal with it. I mean, all the players have to deal with their actions. I mean, Derek still has to deal with things that happened freaking 3 years ago. People still harass him about why? Because he played the game at a high level, so people are going to crap on him. It's going to happen. I still bring up the fact that, Tea Party got kicked out of Oops because some guy in Tea Party took stone off the wrong territory, and he was willing to kick out a guild over an argument over a single stone node. Donator leave to 11 right there, dude. But it's those kind of actions are what make this game amazing, because you can have a story that persists for going on 4 years.
exactly. And having that ability as well as like as a caster now to amplify the story, even though sometimes we may get the story wrong, but we go off of what we know and what we see happening and the rumors and everything else. It's all about trying to build upon that story
Right.
and bring it forward to the wider community.
Yeah, if you guys ever hear something that is incorrect, don't respond by getting mad that it's incorrect. Just simply tell us your version of the story. I will report on 2, 3, 4 sides of a story because they're just the stories that players are telling. And yeah, players will sometimes tell me inaccurate information on purpose because that's the story they want to get out. Propaganda is real in Albion, and that's okay. I don't care. I just want to tell the story. And the wrong information can be just as much as part of the story as the right information. It's just the way that it is. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me or Robin with the stories that you know and the stories you want covered here in the world of Albion. We'd love to do that. But other things, like, why don't we move on just a little bit because we are getting towards the end of our time here today. What else would you like to see in Albion, Robin? You've seen this world change so much. You've seen so many things added. We just had a massive update with the faction warfare from Call to Arms. What would you like to see?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm a very big ZVZ player. I love the open world aspect of the game. And for me personally, I want to see castles be reworked so they are a faux zone. Castles are pretty small for us right now.
Mhm.
And castles, the design layout haven't been changed since beta 1, I believe. So that layout of the castle hasn't changed. A couple graphical upgrades over the time, but nothing in terms of its layout. But what has changed is the size of the Zergs that are fighting over castles now. They're very squished in there, and I want to see a faux zone dedicated to castle warfare. Massive open castle, multiple different layers, maybe even add a dungeon underneath it. So one thing I had in mind for it, and I have passed this on to the devs already, is with a castle rework, adding a trapdoor or a dungeon in the Lord Room. And if your guild owns the castle, they can enter the dungeon, and it is for a massive, it's for a guild. It's a guild size Fame Farm party. And at the timer, like once a week or whatever, a dragon spawns underneath the castle in the dungeon as a final boss, and we're talking like 100-man raid plus for this, and it drops a rare battle mount, the dragon battle mount, and something unique like that to encourage both PvP and PvE for everyone. Like, say Blue Army holds the castle at that time slot, that castle then can be attacked by an opposing faction or guild or whatever, and they can break in and invade that dungeon and fight BA, or BA can come out and fight over the castle and defend it. It's engaging both PvE and PvP aspects of the game into one with a major objective on top. And something like that for me is huge. And I really want that. Like, that's like my dream update, to make open world objectives fun, or even heck, a static dungeon rework that was talked about. I mean, I love dungeon diving. It is probably one of the most funnest things I enjoy about the game. So if dungeon diving comes back, I might be a very, very happy man indeed.
Oh, well, I mean, I would love to see more dungeon diving. I did enjoy that as well. Though, I gotta say, Robin, a giant dragon is a big ask.
It is
You know
indeed.
why? Tails. Tails are hard.
Uh, True.
Tails are just
But
hard. I mean, I remember talking with Robin Hankes about dragons, and like he was like, tails are hard. Like
they've done pretty well with the lizards
the
and
pest
stuff
lizards
lately.
and stuff, but
Yeah.
we're talking about if something is half the size of the your screen there, and it turns around, it does just look awkward in games like Albion, and it's always been that way in games like this. They are an awkward creature because of their length, but they're super cool, and everybody wants to see one. And maybe one day they will figure out, crack the code, if you will, before that. I mean, they cracked a lot of other codes here, to be quite honest. Can you think of any other game that besides like Eve that does these massive battles as well as Albion does? And in Eve, they have to slow down the time for players to interact that way, and it becomes a. I mean, we used to talk and joke about Albion, being a slideshow at times before Queen in these ZVZs, but that's the basic gameplay that you get in other games that use this kind of player base. They've cracked a lot of codes, and maybe one day the tail code.
One can dream. I want a dragon.
Okay, all right. On that note, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to? And say thank you for what they've done, in your experience in Albion. Anybody you want to give a challenge? I don't think you really. No, you can't really give a challenge out to any player right now. You're not in that position anymore, Robin. You can just thank them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna say thanks to all of BA, Blue Army, especially Mojo. Pushed me into content creation and told me, go for it, dude. Like, if the opening's there, put your heart into it, and BA is right behind you on the push forward, even if it means leaving the guild. We're going to be behind you 100%. So shout out to all of Blue Army and King Mojo himself. Shout out to all the SBI devs out there putting in tremendous work, putting out patch after patch after patch, content update, listening to the players' feedback, engaging with us on a daily basis, which is something that we hardly ever see in game development. And shout out to you, Shozen and Bogul, for giving me the opportunity to be where I am now and enjoying doing what I do in terms of work. And hopefully, once I get my own apartment, I'll be back to enjoying and making content on Twitch and YouTube as well. I mean, I'm very limited in what I can do in my room right now. Obviously, other people in the house that are going to be sleeping at times when I'm actually playing the game. I'm doing midnight and 3 a.m. CTAs, so I don't want to be screaming and shouting my head off while engaging in ZVZ warfare on Twitch, because I'm pretty sure the other people in my household wouldn't enjoy that. So once I get my own apartment, probably expect a bit more content creation on my personal channel.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you. I have to say you've definitely earned everything that you've gotten here, and that's the way we've always done things, is you earn it to get it. And you have earned it. The hard work that you've done has gotten you all the rewards that you've gotten. And without you being so serious about your job and putting in the extra hours and the extra effort, you wouldn't have gotten it. And you should shout out yourself for what you did to earn it. So thank you, Robin, for being a great content creator and joining us. And I look forward to seeing how things progress over the next year with you here at Albion TV. Thank you guys very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the interview. I'll check you guys next time.
Adios.